Hello and good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining us from. We'll be spending just a minute here to let more people join, and then we'll get started. Awesome. So we are now going to begin. This is hopefully a very exciting AI Academy. We will be talking about the Now Assist panel. So let me turn my camera on. So everything that I say today, please do not make any purchasing decisions based on what I say. I am a product manager here at ServiceNow. I do have information available kind of for future releases, but those things are subject to change. So please, as always, safe harbor with everything I say. Now, for today, your primary resources are the Generative AI and Intelligence community. So you can follow that short link there to actually be redirected to it. This community is where you can go ahead and ask questions. You can ask the questions. You can find articles that I have posted, my team have posted that kind of expand upon what you might find within product documentation. So it's really, really helpful. And I do suggest you take a look there. We also do post these Academy sessions after the fact. So this is recorded and we will be posting it later today on YouTube. So take a look there if you want to find more sessions like this. So just going through the basics. So these sessions are really designed for you. Chat is open, Q&A is open, ask your questions. I will endeavor to answer them as best I can alongside Mark, who is also from my team. So we'll be there answering questions as we go. And as I mentioned, we are recording this as well, so you can come back to it later on. Now, our goals for today, I'll just be going through a very, very brief overview on the analysis panel. And then I'll jump straight into an exercise just to actually show you guys some of the neat things you can do within the panel. And then we will end with a Q&A. So as I already mentioned, we're going to the analysis panel fundamentals today. With regards to what the analysis panel actually is, this is essentially like it's like the little helper that appears that allows for you to use the generative AI skills that we have available from pretty much anywhere within the system. So it's really neat. And I'll be showing it to you in a second here. And by way of introduction, you might be, I'm Eliza Orchard. I'm an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow, focusing in on analysis and our generative AI products. So with the analysis panel, as I mentioned briefly just before, it's this little panel that appears on the right within this GIF. So agents can access it anywhere within an instance, including on, if they're working on the workspace, if they're within the traditional like UI16, and it's accessible via that navigation bar. So I'm not sure if it's visible on your screen, but there's the little sparkle icon in the top corner that you can tap, click on that, and it will open it up. So then the agent can kind of interact with that to actually run a lot of our skills. Now, this is kind of like a conversationally driven product. So I'll be showcasing just what that looks like in a second. So in terms of what we're learning today, start off a little bit basic, how to turn it on. And if you've already done this, you'll be you can probably turn your brain off for the first 5 seconds. It's very straightforward, which I love. We will be looking at how to limit usage within the panel. So that is if you don't want to give access to the panel to particular users. So kind of looking at how you can do that. Usage tips and tricks. So this is just, when you're actually going out and introducing it to your agent, these are the things that you can kind of tell them, like what is training is required to actually use the panel to the kind of full extent of its ability. And then lastly, this is where it gets a bit chunkier, and that is actually how to brand the panel, because I know a lot of you have been experiencing difficulties with you potentially having custom themes, and that theme is then brought over to the analysis panel. So we'll be looking at how to do that. So packed agenda. And let's get into it. And as always, please, I do have on my other screen both the chat and the Q&A open. So post any questions you have, and I will try my best to get to them. If not, during the session, it will be in the Q&A section at the end. Cool. So right now, take a breath. You are now Beth Anglin. You're an agent working on IT cases. And this is, she's working within a configurable workspace here. Now, she recently got assigned an incident, and someone has already worked on this incident. And as you can see, it's kind of a pretty heavy incident, the EMR system error. There's a lot that has gone on. If you look at the activity, a lot of comments have already been posted, and she's overwhelmed. So what she can do, leveraging the analysis panel, is click on the sparkle icon, and you can actually pin it. I like to do this just to make it easier on myself. And then I'm going to ask it to summarize this record, just to get it caught up to speed on it. Now, forgive me, this is a test instance, so it can take its time a little bit. But you can see here, a summary of this record was generated. And one thing you might notice is that I just said summarize this record. So the analysis panel is actually pretty clever in that it takes the context of the page that you're looking at and brings that in to generate a summary or generate resolution notes or any of those things that you can do. So one thing that I do want to emphasize is you can actually interact with that response even further. So you can ask, hey, can you shorten the summary? Let's say, our poor agent Beth is really short on time, so she wants to actually shorten that summary further. And there you go. You can also interact with it by saying, hey, what does EMR mean in this incident? So it really is like an assistance of sorts. So you can interact with the summary, you can generate, you can change the tone, you can ask, what does this acronym mean? And if, analysis understands it, boom. Now, one of my favorites as well. So it's not just a summary machine, which is, I think, how a lot of people see it today. It really does have that extra layer of intelligence that's only going to get better over time. So it is a really powerful tool for your agents just to kind of understand the case and also kind of interact with that to build that deeper understanding. So super useful. Really recommend you bring this in if you are interested in our generative AI kind of analysis set of products. Now, if you're seeing this and you're like, oh, I want this, like this is perfect. How do I turn it on? Well, what we're going to do is go back to being our friendly system administrator. And to turn on, you type in now admin, and please post in the chat if my screen is too small. It takes us hard to read. I tried to make it big already, but that might be too much. Here you go. So from within Now Admin, you'll be brought to the screen here. And this is where you configure all your Now Assist skills and install the plugins and just kind of handle everything to do with that. For the panel, you click on Settings. And if you have any of the plugins installed, what you'll be able to do is in the left tab here, you'll find Now Assist panel. And all you have to do, so let's turn off because I already have turned on. You'll have the option here. Just turn on the Now Assist panel. And that's it. So once you know where it is, it's literally turn on, turn off, which is lovely. I'm sure some of you are celebrating because I know these things can take a little bit of time to set up occasionally. Now, if you do install one of our Now Assist for ITSM, CSM plugins, turn on the Now Assist panel. The next step that you have to do to actually build in the functionality within the panel to summarize cases, generate resolution notes, you actually have to go and enable those skills. And to do so, click on Now Assist features and navigate to the kind of feature set that you install the plugin for. So Now Assist for technology generally has the ITSM skills underneath there. So I've actually already activated both of these skills, but we'll go ahead and walk through what it's like to activate incident summarization, because this is, I think, the most common use case. And I'll show you how to surface that within the panel. So when activating the skill, you click on it and then choose input data. Right now, this is not configurable. So you just click save and continue. And this is where you actually determine where you want to surface it. So there's in product at the top here. That means that it'll be available within the workspaces and the traditional record view. So if you go to the workspace, you'll see the option to have it be summarized. But down here is what we want to see. We've got our analysis panel. Just make sure that toggle is on. And then if you click on this little arrow here on the right, you can actually determine which roles can access that particular skill from within the panel. So in this case, you might want to limit, the usage of the panel, or just limit your analysis skills to only particular users. So you can go ahead and create a custom role and assign it to those agents, so that only agents that have potentially received training on these products are able to actually use it. So that's the best way to limit access there. And just so you know, this is ITIL GAI agent is the custom rule that I created. It's not found within the system if you're looking for that. Anywho, so save and continue, done. And your analysis panel is ready to go it's turned on, and it's you're able to do that incident summarization in there. So before I go into branding, I will answer some of the questions. So will analysis understand if you use UK English over American English, or does it have to be summarized with a Z instead of summarized with an S? So I'm a New Zealander. I feel your plight, but it does actually understand, like the differences in languages. I haven't had a problem with it, with using like Z's over S's or vice versa. And also with typos and whatnot, it's actually good at kind of picking that up as well. So live demo, I really, it works. But let me just showcase that really quickly. So you believe me, but it doesn't seem to have a problem. So if I say summarize this report, There you go. So John, I hope you're celebrating because I definitely did. Awesome. So someone else asked, I work on a small laptop screen. Can you remove the panel / adjust where analysis pops up? So at the moment, no, you cannot. So the most you can do, is just click on that. It is, if you do move your screen, it is responsive. And you can pin it, but that's kind of the extent of abilities there. So we had the question as well, can we surface the information generated from the analysis panel to be sent to users? So at the moment, no. This is what you generate in the panel. The best kind of course of action is, to get the agents to copy and paste it. We do have the option on here that actually adds it to the agent's clipboard to copy and paste the summary. Potentially if they're generating resolution notes, for example, they can click resolve and have copy paste them in here if they don't have that automatically generated within there as well. So it's not kind of speaking to the record today. So I will move along and talk about branding just because it's a bit of a chunkier topic. We will be going into some fun JSON. And if any of you have experience theming with Next Experience, you will be very familiar with the territory I'm about to enter into. Awesome. So first, what we are going to do is go ahead and actually create a custom theme. So to do so with Experience, we do recommend using Theme Builder. It's a separate plugin on the store that you have to install, but it really makes it significantly more easy than it was prior. So definitely recommend checking this out if you are creating the custom theme. So to do so, let's just and there's lots of like YouTube videos out there on kind of working with a theme builder. So I won't go into too much detail on this, but essentially you have your brand's primary color, which is, the more prominent one that appears on the top banner, for example. And I just have a series of hex values I've got on the side here. I don't have these memorized. Secondary color, that's like for the scroll bars and whatnot. And then we have our neutral color, which header lines and whatnot. I'm a bit extra, so I like the bright green. Trying to stay with the ServiceNow branding. And let me hopefully use a logo that makes sense. So I'm going to do the generative AI sparkle icon in there. You can choose font, etc. And now, once we're happy with our colors, we're happy with our logo and the font, we are going to apply the theme. There you go. Okay. And if we go back to our ServiceNow instance and refresh the entire page, you can see here the branding has changed color. And I will say, if you, this is a Washington instance, so there might be some things that look a little bit different for you. And actually the uptake of colors from the analysis theme was also updated in Washington. So if you're looking to do this, it's a bit of a sneak preview. But yeah, so basically things might look a little bit different. But you can see that, a lot of the branding has been uptaken. There's that one issue of the pin, but that's actually being fixed very soon. So now that the branding has taken place, let's say we want to update the color or something. We're like, oh, we really don't like, this gray box. Like it doesn't fit with our company branding. So what we do is actually navigate to Next Experience framework, go to our list of themes, find the theme that we just created, which is the Academy theme. We find the UX theme style that's named colors, and this is where we define all the kind of values for all the colors within the system. Now, we don't, just to make it a bit more readable, I'm gonna beautify this JSON a bit so we can actually see what this looks like. There you go. A little bit nicer than just a single row of text. And as mentioned before, this might look a little bit overwhelming. At first, we do actually have an amazing live coding happy hour that goes into the details of what we're actually doing here, what you're looking at. So I can actually post a link in the chat right now, just to view that video because we don't have time to go in detail here. But anywho, so this is the list of all the colors that we have, and there's a lot. So what we are going to do is figure out what kind of variable this box is using, what color variable is this box using. So to do so, what you'll do is do inspect element. So I'm using Firefox, it just is called inspect. I believe it's similar, or at least the same, similarly named on Chrome. And what you do is there's a little icon on here to basically select an element on a page. And this just helps you figure out exactly where in the code it is and what the properties of that are. So if we want to change this box, I want to click on that text area, that div, and we are going to scroll down to find. So if you're familiar with kind of CSS properties and whatnot, this is what happens when you hover on it. These are the color. That's kind of the definition for the colors when you hover on it. But we are happy with that. We just want to understand what color it is without the hover. So that's gone too far. Have I brand 4? Actually, no, that is right. Sorry, I'm embarrassing myself here. It's a slow morning for me. But we see that this actually uses, for the background color, it uses variable now color chrome brands. Now, that is defined right here. And you might notice next to it, we actually do have the letter 4 afterwards. If you watch that video, explain in more detail, but basically the way that colors work within a Next Experience theme is you define the primary color in here. So, and then we actually go in the back end and generate 4 different gradients of that color, ranging from 0 through up to 4. So then that's what that means. It's just using this color here, but then it's the variant 4 on it, just to make it lighter, darker, etc., to make it all work together. So now that we found our color, we want to change it, and I'm going to do something hopefully not too obnoxious, but it might be a little bit just for the sake of demoing, which is a bright yellow. And you're going to save this record. Refresh the page. And you can see we now have our incredibly obnoxious yellow text box. And because the certain properties are related as well to each other, the pin icon as well uses that same shade of yellow. Now, this comes with a massive disclaimer. If you change colors anywhere in here, they'll pop out elsewhere within the system as well. just because this applies not only to, the analysis panel, but to places elsewhere in the system on records and whatnot. So if you are making any changes in here, please do be wary of that. Now, one thing to note as well is, let's say, I know I talked very briefly about how this actually was using the specific color, now color from brand 4, like it has that number on the end of it. If we did want to change the color specific to that box, which we don't typically recommend, but sometimes, you just need to have that one thing specifically colored, and you don't want to change the kind of base color for that, you can actually define underneath the properties the specific color. So this is that Chrome brand 4. And if we save and refresh the page, hopefully it's not cache. Yep, so as mentioned, our normal now color Chrome brand's color is that obnoxious yellow, which it still is. But then we defined, okay, we want this variable to be this burnt kind of orange color, which it's using when on hover. And we can see now that when we hover, it changes to orange. So you can play around with that. There's some options there, but I do really recommend watching that video just to get an understanding of what we actually did there. This was just very brief. But yeah, so I think we have a lot of questions, a lot of chatter, which is awesome, because I think we've got 5 minutes now for the Q&A. So let's take a look. So we have questions on, is there any prompt engineering or best practices for optimal experience? So prompt engineering is something that we're looking into. We should have some use for you coming up pretty soon here in that space. And that is more kind of targeting the particular skills rather than now this panel itself. And regarding best practices for an optimal experience, so I think best practices, honestly, it depends on how your organization is using it. So asking simple things, you saw the questions that I was asking, it's only one action per sentence that I'm asking the analysis panel, asking it to shorten. What does this stand for? Can you expand on this particular piece? So just a single action generally gets the best response. It just helps the analysis panel to understand you're asking, actually generate a response. Yeah, so I'm looking at another question. Can you use analysis panel to resolve similar cases that have been resolved or answered by agents in the past? So we don't have automatic resolution today. Like it doesn't, the analysis panel right now looks at the record that you currently have on the screen, or if you're not on a record screen, you can actually put in the number of the incidents. So right now it's kind of only working with that single record that you have, but that's something that we're kind of looking into and to kind of bringing in a wider understanding and use that to help agents resolve cases. We have a question, can you restrict color changes by changing the application away from global? So if you're able to chat again, what you mean by restriction, but you can have the theme changed from my understanding. I'm not like a next experience theming expert, but I believe that you can have the theme applied to only particular users. So then different users will have different theming available to them based on who they are. But fact check me on that. I believe I saw that in there. Awesome. and I see Earl posting in the chat. Yes, so Earl is was actually part of that now live coding happy hour that I mentioned over at the Next UI theme. It's an amazing video. I learned a lot from watching it. And so really do recommend it if you're going down this route. So we have another question asking, does Now tackle language translations as well if the new agent and the old agents are in different language modes? So as of today, we officially only support the English language. Future releases will have other languages available. However, the actual conversion between languages doesn't happen today within the analysis panel. I believe it's only potentially looking at analysis for virtual agent, which is a separate product, but that one day might be brought over into the analysis panel. So as of right now, officially only English, but we should have news to share in that area later this year. And just disclaimer to everything I'm saying, safe harbor. Please, things are subject to change on those. Awesome. So I think we might be about there. I hope this was helpful. It was a bit of a speed run, but I just really wanted to show you guys the power of the analysis panel because it is really neat. And you know, it's only gonna get better. So I'm glad you could all join us today. Please respond to the survey if you have time. Other than that, enjoy your day wherever you may be. If it's just starting or ending. Appreciate it.